This video is about Porter's test of robust strategy. And as McGreta says, Porter is taught in every single business program every single serious business program in the world. When I worked in Brazil in Belo Horizonte with Anglo American, I told the director of warehousing that I was teaching a class in corporate strategy. And the first thing out of his mouth was Porter's five forces. McGreta also says that Porter is the most cited scholar in economics and in business. As well, I am a huge fan of Porter myself. So what does Porter say? Porter says that competition is more than a direct contest between rivals over who get the sale. So what does that mean? So competition is a struggle over the profits. Who is going to capture the value that industry is creating? And so we're going to be looking in our next video about how is profit captured in the industry. We see that the prerequisite for profit is what? Is the creation of value for the customer. So here we actually have our customer equation. What is that customer equation? That customer equation is value equals price less what? Less cost. So customer value is created when the price that the customer is going to pay is greater than the cost that are incurred by the firm, the cost that the company must expend to create that product. So that tells us what we already know. Profit occurs only when what? Only when the customer values that product. But what happens when the customer does not value your product? What do? You've got three choices. First, you can modify the product, or you can modify the customer, or you can do both. If you are going to modify your product, how do you go about modifying your product? What do you know needs to take place so that you can modify that product? Well, the best way to do that is to look at the online reviews, to look at the number of stars, to look at the negative reviews. Those are the ones that you want. You don't want the ones that are peace and love, peace and love. You want the angry consumer who says, look, this product is not meeting the needs that I have. It's not meeting what I thought it was going to do because it did not do this, it did not do this, it did not do this, and it did not do that. That's what you want. That's how you can look at what that product is and say, oh, those needs, those are my customers. I did not realize that those were the needs. Therefore, I need to modify my product to be able to satisfy the needs for those customers. Also, when you're looking at your customers, are those current customers your correct customers? You need to understand what are the needs for your customer. So, and that is actually more important than understanding what your product is, because once you understand the needs for your customer, then you can modify your product so that it will satisfy those needs of your customer. So Porter believes that a robust strategy is defined by a company's ability to pass 5 basic tests. What are those tests? Those tests are, do you offer a unique value proposition to your customer? Do you offer a tailored value chain that is different from that of your customer? Do you make significant trade-offs? Do the activities in your value chain fit together? Do you devote sufficient time for your strategy to fully develop? So when we look at our unique value proposition, we look at which customers are we serving, who are the end customers, who are the channels, which needs are being met, which products, which features of those products, what are the services there, which relative price will provide the acceptable value for customers and as well provide what? Acceptable profit for the company. So do you sell your product at a premium? Do you sell your product at a discount? Are you able to sell to the overserved? And what are overserved customers? Ones where their only options are the overpriced products. And so therefore they would be just as happy paying a lower price for a lower or a less enhanced product, if you will. And so you can do what you can eliminate those unnecessary costs to meet those particular customers and to sell just enough of what they are looking for. So think of the that old saying is, why build a Cadillac when a Volkswagen Beetle will do? The next thing is, do you have a tailored value chain that is different from that of your competitors? So your value proposition that we talked about in our first step, that is looking outwardly, that's looking at your customers, but your value chain, on the other hand, is doing what? That's looking inwardly. That's looking at your operations. So are you performing activities differently? Or are you performing different activities than your rivals do? So your tailored value chain is actually your first line of defense against your rivals. Next, do you have significant trade-offs? What do trade-offs do? Trade-offs allow the companies to focus. So what is the company going to do and what are they not going to do? Understanding what those trade-offs are, understanding what your focus is actually the linchpin of strategy, because those trade-offs cause choices to be what? To be incompatible. If you make one choice, you cannot simultaneously make the opposite choice. So that is why trade-offs make it difficult for your rivals to replicate what your processes are, make it difficult for your rival to replicate what your product is. So if we think of IKEA's trade-off, what is that? IKEA does what? IKEA sells flat pack furniture. IKEA does not sell fully assembled furniture. It sells flat pack furniture, and it is able to create the greatest amount of profit by selling that flat pack furniture at a lower cost than you would pay for a fully assembled furniture. We can think of Enterprise versus Avis as far as the rental car companies. Where does Enterprise get its revenues? So its revenues are, for the most part, coming from the insurers. And so what does Enterprise do? Where are they placed? If you take your car in to be served or serviced, I should say, a lot of times that Enterprise car rental booth is right there inside the same building. That's the way it was when I used to take my car for service in Dallas. So why do trade-offs arise? What are the reason for those trade-offs? Those trade-offs make your product features incompatible. So one product cannot meet the needs, cannot best meet the needs of all of the customers. It makes your configuration of activities harder for your rival to copy. And as well, it ensures a consistency of image. That an inconsistency of image may prevent your product from being accepted by the company. And you say, well, what do you mean? Well, pizza coming from McDonald's, for example, or a minivan coming from Ferrari. So think of those activities there. Just a couple of other examples about trade-offs. When I worked for Mobil Oil in Dallas, Texas, Mobil, now it's ExxonMobil, but Mobil specialized in refining West Texas sour and not West Texas Intermediate. West Texas sour has a higher grade of sulfur. West Texas sour only produces fewer product than West Texas Intermediate does. It costs more to produce the product out of West Texas Sour. However, what did Mobil do? Mobil specialized in West Texas Sour, and therefore they were able to squeeze all of the costs. They did not get as much profit. However, they did not pay as much money for the actual process, either for the actual crude that they were buying. So actually, Mobil was much more profitable by refining West Texas Sour, having lesser priced and lesser product than they would have done if they had bought, or if they had refined West Texas Intermediate. So that is the other reason for a trade-off.